Well, we get to do, if you don't know yet, and you can go in under events on Facebook, or you can reach out to us, or if you're in Slack, and the book we're doing is The Strength of a Woman by Lauren Cruz. And I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you've already started it. If you haven't started it yet, would you let me know like what you're thinking so far? Can we just right off the top, can I get a few ladies just to open up and just be like, I snuck in and I read and this was so good? Because we're going to go through a few chapters today.
Carly, it's Carol.
Hey, Carol.
Hey. Um, I started reading it actually this afternoon. Actually this morning because I was driving this afternoon. Um, I'm loving it so far. Loving it.
Sorry, had to turn the air on. I was sweating, like I literally have a sweat stash. Okay, had to turn the air up. Okay. You started reading this afternoon. Okay, sorry. I want to hear.
Loving it. It's I'm already seeing where it's going to give us a completely different perspective
Right?
of a woman's role and of Ruth. And I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, anyone else?
Well, I just got my book today, but I got the devotional first because I got both of them. So I was looking at the devotional, but I just literally pulled this out of the mailbox today. So I haven't had a chance to read the book, but I did do a few, like three days of the devotional, and it's amazing. I really think it's going to be a blessing to all of us.
It's really good because if some of you are like, oh, I've done the alphabet, like I already know it. I can read Hebrew. I know Hebrew. I'm like, for me, the one thing I really loved is I love that even in the beginning, she says, gosh, the more I know, I don't know, and the more I realize I don't know. So I think that there's a humbling that comes when you're like, I don't care if I can read Hebrew, but I'm open to learning this a new way because it's so dimensional. If there's going to be I'm always, even if I go to a retreat or I go to something and they're teaching on something I think I know, then I'm always like, where's the nugget? So it becomes like a archaeology dig. Like I'm listening more intently because I want to see what can I hear, what can I learn that I didn't get to learn before. So
it's like an onion. It's like layers and layers and layers, and or a root to a tree. It just goes deeper and deeper. Yeah,
absolutely. Anybody else start and actually read any of it? You did, Sarita.
I did. I downloaded it, the audiobook, and I listened to all 3 chapters, and then I actually started listening through it again. And like chapter 1, I'm like, oh my gosh, I do need to be working out. Like I was literally just telling my friend, I'm like, because she's in the portion, but she hasn't got the book yet. But I was telling her, I'm like, oh my gosh, the whole thing about like the Aleph and like the women, its strength and like being yoked with your husband and like being able to plow together. I'm like, we're supposed to be strong. It's not bad to be strong. And I'm like, I've been struggling with working out for a while because when I was younger, like the way I grew up, it was like I was always on monkey bars and stuff. And then when I got into high school, I was like in sports, and then I was in weight training. And so I have a lot of muscle memory. So when I start working out, it's like it comes back real quick. And then I would get scared, like, oh, I can't look this wonderful because people will think that I'm trying to show off. Even if I was dressed modestly, it was still like almost like the enemy was in my head, like, oh, you shouldn't be that strong. What, that's not good. Like, that's not feminine. So like reading that, I'm like, I'm about to hit this gym now.
Oh, I love it. Get ready, right? It's
like,
so many levels.
Is gonna be happy.
Look at her. Look out, girls. You guys, look out. She's getting ready.
I'm not taking anyone else's husband. I ain't doing that.
No. We know that. No, I'm saying look out because she's getting ready. We're gonna start praying for your husband already. If you're not praying for Sarita's husband right now, y'all start praying for him. So she's our girl. We're gonna be praying for that. What I had something I want to be like, what was your first? I want to hear from somebody. What was your first impressions of P31? What was your first impressions? Like your whole, like maybe you've been in this for a long time, your whole life, and you were like, well, this is what I always used to think. Because I love how she starts off going, I ain't rich, I don't have servants, I didn't think it applied to me. Like, how can I do all this? Jordan, did you have a preconceived, like what your P31 preconceived idea was before?
Not too much. I didn't really grow up with that verse, so it wasn't until I was an adult that I really start hearing of it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I did, for me, it was more like goals, something to look toward as a example. And I didn't have what I would say a biblical example growing up of a woman. And so it was nice to see that in the Bible as an example, something to look towards, and I guess goals to hit. And so for me, the passage never bothered me, even though it wasn't something that maybe I could identify with. It gave me something to cling to that I knew was something that a character that maybe pleased the Father that I didn't know before. So that was my preconceived of the verse. I love the verse. My husband says the first part, every Shabbat, and the verse that our first Bibles, it was just jewels. I was like, no, there's versions that say rubies, and I want rubies. I want to be like rubies.
Love it. Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, Somber has the same. I know you're unmuted too. We do the same thing in our home. My husband's speaking when he's doing it. It's like he's in tears. I'm in tears. We sat doing, Gail. We've been at Gail's with Gail and Randy, and like Randy is blessing his wife and speaking it over her, and then my husband, and we're all like big babies. So it's like, okay, that's it, huh, Sombra?
Oh, well, I like the fact that she was talking about in that word, there's the word dam, in other words, blood. And we have that much worth, that we're worth the blood of Yeshua.
Yes. Oh, that's so good.
We are worth the blood of Yeshua. And so, yeah. So long ago, I had a Catholic friend, and I asked her, I said, oh, so what's the ultimate picture of a woman for you? Is it Proverbs 31? And she says, no, Mary. And I'm thinking, okay. And then when it became Messianic, my husband started speaking Proverbs 31 over me because, you're supposed to. And then I said, you can't do this. I feel so much condemnation through it, and I couldn't do it. And then I learned from, Frank Seekins about Isha, and about how Isha is like the fire, right? The fire. And so I had him start doing it again, and I started seeing it more as a prophetic. Okay, this is my prophecy. This is what I'm to grow into. This is who Jehovah's making me out to be. And I could claim it that way, even though I wasn't it. So it was it wasn't condemnation anymore. Now it was vision, and it was much better.
Oh, that's beautiful. For in the very beginning of this, we see in the first part of it, we learned that this section, if you didn't know, and some of you may be doing this forever. I mean, I remember, I don't know. I'm like, Father, bring to my memory, but this is an acrostic. So it's going through the first letter of each one of these verses actually is the first letter of each alphabet. And that's the reason why she decided to do it this way, because it's kind of like when I remember learning to play the piano, or you're learning to play the guitar, and you're learning like every good boy does fine, right? You remember that it was like E, G, B, D, F, like those were the letters on that was the letters you did. And that's how I learned them. It's the same thing. This was a memorization tool to be able, not just speaking it for, this is not a woman speaking it to her son who's a king, to say, this is the woman, this is who you need to find, this is the woman you need to look for. But this is also something that as women, we get to read and say, this is who I already am. And I think for me, I'm just going to say that in reading this, and I'm going through this, as I saw, this is who I am. I just get to get better and better at it. She uses the example of the banana. Did you guys love that? Did you guys see yourself in some ways the banana? Like a banana is useful in all areas, right?
Yes.
Did you love it? Sarita's like, yes,
Yeah,
preach.
I was actually thinking that before you said that. I'm like, oh yeah, the banana, that was really powerful. Like, oh yeah, we're not supposed to do it all at once.
No, it's good. It's good. So like for some of you are new, and I pray that please feel free to invite your friends. I know I think Sabrina, you're doing a watch party. So, hey girls, I would love it if you guys go live, like let us see you, and like, so we can all wave at you all. But I think you have a group in your home right now, and that she's going live and doing a watch party with everyone. But what happens is we have so many English words, right? There's so many English words, but there's only 8,000 Hebrew words. So they're so important. They're so important, and they mean so many different things. And each letter means something. It has a picture. It's so beautiful. It has a number. And you hear us talking about like, I don't want to have to learn a new language. You don't have to. But what if you just learn this little thing? Like, what if you just got to learn? I promise you start learning, then it's going to catch on fire. I know you're going to catch on fire. For those of you who have started, you are going to get on fire, and then you're going to be like, oh, well, now look at Sabrina. She did it. Look at her. Hi, everyone. Hey, y'all. Oh my gosh, I'm going to start crying. Hey. So I'm going to read this, what she wrote on here. So why does this matter? Reading the Bible through a Hebrew lens is like owning a high definition television, but not watching the high def channel. You can watch and you can enjoy your show, and you don't even realize how much better it is until you tune into a high def channel. Then things become clear and fine tuned. That Hebrew lens allows you to experience God's word with more definition and more understanding. Isn't that cool? I think that's cool. Yes, sister.
So on the strength thing, like the physical part was cool, but also when she talked about the strength of your mind, oh my gosh, like literally when I started listening, I put it on at the right time, because the Father's been calling me to like not be on social media this week. And I've been struggling. And I was about to go on, and I'm like, I don't know if this one, like the one group I'm on, I'm like, is this technically social media? But it's a part where I struggle with being on it too much. And so I've been like, no, I'm not gonna. And so I'm listening to it, and she talked about like the strength of mind, and like a man's looking for a wife who's, her mind is a strength, and like where she'll obey what the Father calls her to, and no matter what. And I was like, yes, I didn't go on there. And it's like, yeah, I was so like excited and proud of myself. And I'm like, thank you, Father, that I like got the book instead and started reading it, listening to it, instead of, well, let me just peek and see what people are saying, but I don't have to respond. Like that's that's like my way of doing it sometimes. Like, well, I'm not communicating, I'm just reading. So I don't have to answer back right now. I can answer back next Sunday when the fast is over. Like, no, that's going to the edge and trying to, work your way and manipulate around. I'm like, yeah, let's not do that. We're too old for that. So it was good.
That was my next note I have in here, is just jumping right into the Aleph, is talking about the whole goal. Well, first of all, before we do that, is we realize that this passage is so much a military passage. Like it is such dominating theme of this passage, that the words you see as you're reading in there, the words that are used are military. And the second theme of it is going to be a priesthood and the tabernacle, which is really beautiful, especially since we've gone through this together we're almost done. Well, I can't wait to start it back again. But I love that part of it. But the goal of all of it, I wrote the goal is so that you no longer feel that you're falling short. And that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing from you, Sarita, is that you don't feel like you're falling short. Instead, what's happening is this is actually showing you all the areas where you're actually doing well. And of course, you're going to be like, oh, I should do this better. I get to do this better. But I think we live under so much of that with the world, where it's like, we can't bring home the bacon, fry it up in the pan and all the things, but now this is showing us where we're not falling short. Jordan, you don't have to raise your hand. You guys can just unmute and do it. It's like,
okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was just gonna say, I don't know, have any of y'all heard the Hebrew interpretation of the helper, of the helpmeet that we are described as, and how that's very military-esque?
Yeah.
As well.
It is, and it's great. And if a lot of you, if you go back to our first conference, if you are in the cafe and you look, you can watch the whole thing was the biblical feminist. It was not about, we're not that it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek about the Ezer Kenegdo, about how we are. It's a battle position. It's about us being, that's who we are, we're pulling the weight, right? So we see the Aleph. We see already that it was here. The Aleph was the translated for of excellence. First of all, the word valor, Hayil. Look at you, already know a word. You know a letter, Aleph. You know a word, Hayil, Chayil. You know a new Hebrew word. And this is used, we see it in Joshua 1:14, 2 Chronicles 13:3. Those are two different places that we see that. And you know what it's describing? Mighty warriors. And this is a place where he's saying, I need you to have the woman of valor. This is what this is who your wife is. This is the woman that you're looking for, is a woman who is a mighty warrior. This is a woman who is strong. This is a woman who is strong in what she believes. But more importantly, she is strong in who she serves, right? Where does her strength come from? How is she going to help you pull the load? And one of the things that in pulling a load as a warrior, sometimes we can get too strong. And so what's happening is we're pulling the cart off the road all the time. And I think she used an example with her and her husband. There was times when she was pulling the cart in the ditch because of her, being controlling. I mean, a lot of us are recovering control freaks, right? Hi, my name is Charlie. I am a recovering control addict, right? Who else can say yes? So what can happen is we're so strong and we're looking at the inadequacies of who we're yoked with instead of looking up to see who we're yoked with to pull the cart, right? And so we're pulling these carts in our ditch. And I know Gail is over on Facebook right now. She's saying her internet is slow, so she couldn't join us over here to be able to be on Zoom with us. But seriously, I'll say this over and over again. When she shared with me this, like, it's not you against me. It's you and me against the problem. And that's what I saw with this cart. It's you and me against the problem. And if you're single, it's you and him against the problem. Even if you're not single, it's you and him and him against the problem. You're not just going to go driving off on the cliff. Anyone have anything about Aleph that they wanted to share if they had something that came to them? Just unmute chat. No, yeah. I look at my notes real fast. And also, what are your kids seeing? How are your kids seeing you pull? Who are they seeing you yoke to? What's your power source? She put a note on here in the chat is about arranged marriages. In arranged marriages, they have to pay a bride price, right? And about how Yeshua paid that price for us. Somber, you brought it up that you were worth the price. You were worth the price. That is exciting to me. Oh my goodness. Lori Dawn says her kids, that's how you do spell it. That's exactly how you spell it, Lori. Is there Connecto? She said that her kids see her yoked to her phone, right? I feel a little convicted. Not condemnation, maybe a little convicted. Anyone else get to read about Aleph? Kim, go ahead. Kim Albert, did you want to share? Anybody over in Sabrina's group have anything they want to jump in on? Can we even hear you? I say yes. Hop over and talk to us.
I have us hooked up to the TV, so I don't know if it'll work.
Oh, we hear you.
Oh, yay. Hi.
Yeah.
I read the first 3 chapters and it took me like 9 hours because I kept taking so many notes.
Isn't that funny? Because it's so, like, you read like, oh, this is really easy. It's just like a few little pages. But for me, it really hit me in a whole different way. And I'm glad it did, because I did pray for a new revelation. Anyone else there?
They haven't got their books yet.
Yeah, my book can come in.
Awesome. Oh, great. You're going to have fun. I saw Janie.
Yeah, I did notice something. We're not praised sometimes as women for being strong, right? The men are supposed to be strong. But I noticed, the comparison of the oxen, that are large animals trained for service to carry great weight. And I feel like as women, we do carry a great weight along with our husbands or our, or, the father when we're single. We carry a great weight as an equal partner.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really cool.
I highlighted that too. And I wrote, I highlighted the part where she says, by a yoke to provide greater strength and endurance as a team. Like, that's what we get to do. That's how we are that Azer Connecto, is because we're side by side and we get to bring strength, but more in endurance. Like, how many of you guys are cheerleaders in your family? And I love this book because it's not just to married women. Like, who's cheerleaders in your family where you're having to cheer people on and bring endurance, where everybody's about to quit and you have to be the one that's doing that, right? Debbie, you're unmuted, and Samra, go for it.
Yeah, drawing on that, or thinking about the oxen, and I tell my kids all the time, because they're all married, marriage is easy. Marriage is really easy. It's giving up of ourself. That's the hard part. Because when we're yoked together, just like those oxes, we're supposed to be going side by side. But what happens is, oh, I want to do this, or oh, he wants to do that. And it's that giving up of ourself that is the hard part, because we both want to be right. We both want to do what we want to do. And I loved what she said about drawing on the strength of each other in your marriage. And we say, my husband and I now say to each other, hey, work with me in my weaknesses. We don't have to carry the burden for each other, but yet we do, and we give up of ourselves instead of.
I'm hearing you already say, like, when we can hear the verses popping, like the hyperlinks, when he's weak, when I'm weak, he's strong.
Yeah.
Right. That's the part of being yoked to him. And when we do that, and we're saying, even for our children, our daughters, this is who you need to be. For our sons, this is who you need to find. Yeah, that we're yoked first to him together, and then to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then we instead, our weaknesses aren't weaknesses. It's just the opportunity for the other person to be strong.
Right. Exactly. It takes a while though to understand that, because we come from a world that does not teach that.
No.
And the world that my husband and I came from, it was not that at all. At all.
No, not at all.
So and I love that thing of, she said it like a zigzag pattern. I always used to say it was like the pendulum on the clock. We were way over here, and then I read a great book. I can't remember what it is, the name of it right now. And I went way over here. And then sometime we came back to where we're just flowing in the middle, that pendulum. And that's where we need to be, right in that middle. But,
we can't. Yeah, zigzag is no joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if we were really able to get a hold of this, and we can teach the younger women, teach women that are struggling in marriages, or that we can help teach them, and walking that out is where you're first yoking here, and your strength. Where does my strength come from? My strength comes from the Lord. I mean, all these verses, it would be great to journal out as you're reading through these, the verses that come to your heart as you're reading through these. Mm-hmm. Sombra, you're unmuted.
Yep. We went to a goodbye party yesterday for a young family. The husband is going to do a PhD in Ontario, so they had to move. And just as I was leaving, the young wife comes to me and she says, so your husband has a PhD. So what was it like? And I said, I'm trying to leave, right? I said, you know what? It's our PhD. We work together. We work together on it. And when Stuart was doing his PhD, I was a young wife, but I had to make sure that everything in his life was lifted up and ready and in order, so that he had the freedom to spend his energy on studying. And I wasn't always great at it. Right when he was supposed to be doing some, exams, I decided to start a project. I decided to dig to make a patio. and he had to come along and finish making the patio, because he couldn't take the fact that I'd started this project in the middle of studying. But the thing is, together we worked together, and he got it done in 4 years. And so that's one of the things I told her is, you have to work together for it. And at the end, it will be our PhD. And, that's that thing of drawing on each other's strengths. You have to make sure that he has what he needs so that he can provide you what you need.
Yeah. Sombra, I have to laugh. So my husband calls me, he worked till 5, and he called me asking if we needed anything. And I'm like, no. He's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm just frustrated. I just came up the stairs. He's like, what? I'm like, well, I can't get the desk in the room and I'm trying to take it apart. And so he gets home and he looks at me, and I'm sitting and this desk is an L. Like I would show you, but it's kind of crazy. And we finally got it in here, but he says, he just laughs and he says, honey, you can't do it by yourself. You need me to help you. And he stands up again and he goes, well, at least you're not tearing down the bathroom walls or something. Because I have done that. I have done. He has come home at 9 o'clock at night and my brother-in-law is over and we're tearing the bathroom out.
Debbie, I swear that is like the perfect segue to the next letter, to the Gimel. Like the thing that hit me, this is the letter that actually hit me the hardest, was that sometimes you can be, we are supposed to be, we had the picture of a camel. So now you have another letter, Gimel, this picture of a camel, but I love the picture of the bridge also, because it was talking about the humps, how it's also can be a bridge. But even as the camel is thinking, am I so loaded down with all my own stuff that I can't help carry something else? And that to be this woman of valor, of strength, I have to make sure I'm not overloaded. Mm-hmm. That knocked me. I mean, just that word, am I overloaded? Are you overloaded? Is there so much going on that you have not? And Brenda, I think, brought it up on Friday when I had shared with her, when he showed me about leaving the edges of my field open. Are you overloaded in your time? What are you overloaded in? That you're so overloaded that if someone came and needed help, you're like, I can't, stop talking to me. By the way, air conditioner guy, I worked that out with him. So just so you know, we're friends now. So just worked it out with air conditioner guy. For those of you who listened to Friday, yeah, that's all good.
Loredon asked, did we skip bait? Because I was going to ask the same question.
Yes, we did.
Oops, I'm sorry. I skipped over. I was so excited because Gimel was my excited one. Okay, bait. Bait is the second one. So we got 31:11. Does someone have it open? Can they read? Can someone grab a Bible? Let's read I don't know, get crazy. Let's actually read the word. 31:11. Would someone read it out loud? Yeah, if you didn't get to Gimel, sorry guys, I was so excited. I'm skipping.
Did you say verse 11?
Yes. 31. Yeah.
Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value.
Yes. So the beginning of that verse is the bait, and it's the house. That's the image that when you see bait and we think of Bethlehem, starts with a bait. It's the house of bread. That's where we see that. And after being yoked in marriage, the next part of this marriage is to establish a home. So that makes sense to us, right? So we think, okay, you're strong. You are yoked with the Holy One. You're yoked with your husband, and you have to create a home now. So that's like the perfect next segue into this is your home that you're building. And it begins with the word batach, which is Hebrew for trust. So what a beautiful picture, this house of trust that it is our jobs, women, and talk about strength. It takes a lot of strength to build trust, right? Because guess what? Trust doesn't mean that you're demanding your way. We talked about this on Friday. Sometimes it's saying, I'm wrong and I did this wrong and I didn't know how to do this and please forgive me, because that builds trust. Why? Because they're going to trust you that if you're faithful in being honest in these little things, that you're going to be faithful in the big things, right? You're going to be faithful in developing this trust with them. Anyone else have something on bait that they want to share?
As a prefix, it means in or through. So like we can look at it like in Bereshit, the bait is in beginning. So like when we look at like Romans, like Paul, like that, he was like big on that. He always said in Christ, he understood that like we're in that house, like that house is him. And so when we receive things through him, in him, to me, it's huge to see it like that too.
It is beautiful. I wrote a note that he makes his heart's home in his wife's heart. I wrote that like he makes his heart's home in his wife's heart, that you are a place that he can trust to give his heart. And why? Because, and it talks about he no longer with the spoils, like that he no longer has a need. He doesn't have to look for, who can find. The reason he says who can find is because the word spoils she says, and it talks in here, it's a war term, right? The war term specifically the war term was the spoils was women, the wives, but he doesn't have to seek anything anymore. He doesn't have to seek after that anymore. And I'm thinking about, we talk about, oh, he conquered her heart. He's not anymore having to work on that anymore, because that's what he's, where does he now has a place he can trust to give his heart to, and you're protecting it. Women, are we protecting their hearts?
Yeah.
Are we protecting their hearts? Is it a place that
Charlie,
they
can
can
you say
trust?
that phrase again? You said he puts his wife's heart.
He
No.
makes his heart's home in his wife's heart.
That's so beautiful.
So what a beautiful place to be, where you are able to, I think of it, and I'm going to always say this, things that I've heard it from Gail, I've heard it from Simi, is what I'm going to say going to hurt, or is what I'm going to say is it going to help? Is this going to bring life or death? Is this from the tree of knowledge and good and evil? Do I feel like I have to make sure he knows what he did wrong? Is this going to help the situation? Is this going to make this load straight? Am I going to be pulling this? Is this going to make a zigzag because I'm going to be right? Right? Do you want to be right, or you want to be Dr. Phil? You want to be right, or you want to be happy? Like, what's your thing?
Right. Yeah.
I'm looking around for y'all. Anybody?
Was this the section that it talked about trusting in the Father as well? Like,
yes, I believe so. Yeah.
then that section probably is the most convicting for me, because that's probably an area that I struggle the most with. Is really, really trusting the Father. It's something I'm working steadily on. But I mean, it just really hit home hearing about it, because this last week we went camping, and it was a very big trial, and I was not able to put my trust in the Father to take care of us, so much so that I wasn't sleeping and resting. And I mean, I literally worried myself sick. I came home and I got sick because I didn't get enough rest in like 5 days. And that's just a hard one for me. I talked about it in the portion yesterday, or whenever it was, Friday, about sorry, how some of us, our relationships with our earthly fathers has really hindered our relationship with our Heavenly Father. And so I've come a long way, and I'm really starting to open that up, but it's still just it's a very hard concept to place my life into his hands, to just back off and say, oh, he's got it. I know he's got it. It's very hard to do. So that convicted me, but
it's a discipline. And I love that you are open with all of us. And thank you for trusting us. Thank you for trusting us with that, because a lot of us will come out, oh, trust in the Lord, just trust him. And it's a process. One of the words in here about putting our heart, the heart of the home, the Hebrew word for heart is lebab, Lebab, labab, and it's a lamed and bet, the bait, lamed and bait, which is the word picture means a heart or a home. And it's really beautiful if you see it. It's actually two baits. So it's kind of like the picture reveals the heart reads the home, and then it says two hearts represented by the bait walking together. Like a heart is the lamed, is the direction, is I always think of that as the little shepherd's hook, guiding and directing you. And it's doing that as you're walking with the Holy One, as you walk with God, as you also walk with your spouse, as you walk with others. Like, we're supposed to be echad, unity. This is a picture of that unity in our hearts, right? That we're allowing him to guide us. And Jordan, just being so real, isn't it free? To me, it was freeing, because I'm going to just tell you, it was probably till I was 40 that I realized I could say to God, I don't know how.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I don't know how.
Yeah.
Because no one told me I had permission to do that. And you have to show me how to do this, because I need to, it can't be what she's saying or he's saying or they are saying or this pastor is saying. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling it.
Right.
And I don't mean necessarily it has to be a feeling. We don't need to go down that trail, but I mean, I don't get it. My dad was a Marine. And like all his tools had marks around it. All I just remember is if you didn't put the tool back under the right thing, that I was in trouble. It was very regimented. My dad
was like my dad.
Yeah, he didn't hold me in his lap. I wasn't told how much I was loved and valued. He just yelled at me that I was on the phone too much. Though he was a very good provider. He was, all those things, but he wasn't lovey like that. So for someone to say this dad wants to love, I mean, I can't even imagine if he was abusive. I can't comprehend. My husband had this revelation. He was like, literally, he calls dad Abba. He goes, it's my, he says, hey, dad, if he's talking to you, he goes, well, I was talking to dad. And my husband had the most abusive father on this planet that I have been in association with. So if he can do it for my husband, I know he'll do it for you, Jordan. I know it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that encouragement, because it's frustrating. You see people going about and they can't just put that trust in there, and it's just like, it's incomprehensible. It's like, I don't know how to experience that. I don't know how to let those guards down.
Can I jump in here?
Of course.
There was a time I couldn't trust either. And then it came to me as I read through the word, and I read it as his love letter to me and what he specifically says to me. I was like, oh, I'm so glad you're my dad. Instead of, like, you're my true dad. Like, you are the one that is pouring out. You are the one that is giving. You are the one that is taking care of everything. And he's the one that held my heart. And so it was very freeing to say, oh, thank God, like, I can look to you. And I call him Abba, or Father too, Charlie, and I can look to him and complete trust. It was like he just did a 180, because this guy over here, he's just a human like me that messes up. And my perspective as a little girl wasn't necessarily the right perspective. And I don't know that we know that until we become parents. You know what I'm saying? Because now, my kids are now saying, like my son last night, we were having a conversation and my husband asked him a question, and he says something about, like, tell us your perspective on how we were when you guys were teenagers. And he says, well, to be honest, I'd like to go back and smack myself a couple times and tell myself to get over it. I was like, whoa, okay. And he wasn't a bad kid. Like, he was a good kid. So the attitude that he was identifying and sharing, I don't remember it, And so, yeah. But anyway, I just offer that maybe if you can, in your prayer time, ask him, be my daddy. Be my daddy.
Yeah, I agree. I had the hardest time too, because my dad was like how Charlie explained her father. My dad was in the military, so it was very dink, 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 and you'd only spoke when you were spoken to, and that depended on if he was in the right mood to hear what you had to say. So, it was really hard for me to understand. Like, I could identify with Yeshua, but it was hard for me to identify with the Father. And I agree with you. I think that if we pray, like, he knows the desires of our hearts, and he knows what's lacking in us, because he created our hearts. So I think if you just, like you said, if you just keep praying for that he will give us the understanding of who he is for us individually.
Yeah.
Thank
you, Father. Yeah.
With my blood father, like, I was told he didn't love me, didn't want me, blah, blah, blah. And then my stepfather wasn't a very good example either.
Same.
Good provider, like you said, Charlie.
Yeah. My biological father didn't want to. I was a product of an affair, and he did not want his family to know about me. So he signed away everything and said, he didn't want anything to do. So there's issues. So, when I think, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Right.
You get to this place when you are, like I had written down there, you're not comparing fathers, like, because he's the Father. And I love, like, what you said about thinking I could always relate kind of to Jesus, but I still felt like there was a disconnect, but I could kind of always relate to this. But I had this relationship, like, you'll hear Dr. Robin when she'll say, like, oh, like, Uncle Jesus is going to protect you from mean God. And I mean, that's how I thought of it. It was like I was going to hide behind him so that God didn't get to me. And it's been beautiful to watch that relationship being healed. It is. But breaking trust is a big thing. Think about your have you broken trust in a relationship. I know the example of the story that's in here, the woman that's given in here, she's the one who broke the trust in the marriage. Have you broken trust? Maybe you didn't have an affair, but have you told his story and to other people that you wasn't something you should have shared with your family, or maybe you shared it with a girlfriend because you were angry, or maybe you said it in front of your children. Have you broken trust? And that you need to work. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I didn't have an affair, so this doesn't have anything to do with me. But what if you say, Father, how am I not creating the bait? How am I not creating a home full of this batach, this trust? The words, it's a weld, right? It's a weld. And the joke you'll hear me, if you hear Brenda and I talk about, oh, I had the backspace, because, I'll wake up and I'll give you the example. Friday morning, I always wake up very, very early. I have this ritual and I get in my bed. I have all my study books and I'm going to like finish out, get ready for the portion. I'm going to be so, heaven's going to come down. I'll feel like inspired by the Holy Spirit and I'll be all ready for it. So this past Friday, my husband comes in and he decides he's going to like reorganize his little area where his clothes are. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is my area. This is what this is what I do all the time.
It's my space.
And I'm wanting to text Brenda pictures of what's happening and I had to keep backspacing and deleting the pictures because the Holy One's like, what kind of house of trust are you building if you're exposing this about your husband, as opposed to just have a conversation with him? Your husband loves you so much. If he just probably forgot, but I was just like, are you kidding me? What are you doing? God, don't you know I'm trying to be holy right now? I'm trying to study. Like,
you're messing up my mojo.
But what he showed me in that was, how many times have I broken trust, whether it's with friends? Are you creating a home full of trust? Are you a person who's trustworthy? Because I know now I've gotten to the place where I'm like, I have to ask that person's permission. And if I tell you something, I'll be like, I'm telling you this with permission, because I realize, we may say a story where as women, we think we'll call it a prayer request, maybe, but it's really gossip. Even if it's about our husbands or even our sons or our daughters, our family. Have you taken this to the Father first in prayer? Are you surrounding your family, as my dog snores? Have you surrounded your family to the place where you've created this home of trust? Is that good?
Good. It's good.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that the Aleph is 1, the bait is 2. So what was 1 becomes 2 to become 1 again.
And it's what did you say? It's the only letter, if you think about the only letter, the number 2, it's the only that could be divided, right? Into 1 and 1 and be back to 2. So it's the first letter. So it's, that's why a house divided against itself will fall. Look at the bait. If that bait, if you take that thing, it'll fall because it can't stand,
That foundation part of it. Yeah. Oh, wow. It's good.
Yeah. Sisters, I hope we're encouraging some of you who are not married yet. We can tell you how the ways not to do it. I hope we get to do that here. Because I'm going to tell you, growing up, I didn't have women who were real to me. Like, I felt like and I thought that the tightest women were supposed to be the women who had it. They were doing it all right. And so they acted like they did it all the right ways. And little did I know they were struggling and there was these things happening. And I thought, when I get older, I don't want to be that kind of a woman. I want us to be able to live out loud and say, I'm struggling in this area, but this is what I learned and this is what I found. And that you feel comfortable in this group with these women. If you have women around you, that you can grab somebody and say, help me because I'm struggling in this. Like Jordan is honest and being able to be vulnerable and say, I'm struggling with this area of trust in a heavenly Father when my earthly father was not a great example. And so, he brought me life, and that's the best I can say about it right now, to bring honor and so I don't disrespect him. He brought life to me, and the Father decided to choose him to be how you got here. So we have to just honor that. Anything else about bait? Missing anybody?
Yeah, we break that trust when we start just complaining about our spouses, our husbands, and we just feel like we're sharing our struggles, but we're diminishing them and we're demeaning them. And so I've made it a bigger point in the past years to not do that at all. Or if so, then it's countered by, yeah, we deal with this, but the positive, and it's not, this isn't a big, I don't know. I word things differently to make sure that it's lifting him up and not tearing him down in the eyes of others. And
right, because we don't want to meet your husband, Jordan, and all we're remembering is all the bad stuff. We see him now through the lens of the things that you've told us about him. Like now, like you'll laugh because my husband was, I mean, whose husband organizes their stuff? Like how blessed, he just finished doing laundry and he was putting laundry away and then reorganizing it. Like how blessed am I, right? And you'll know when you hear my stories, it's usually me, how much prayer I need, because I'm showing my tail, not him. So yeah, it's the struggle's real, guys. Katie, I can't even stand. I want to grab that baby. Like, stick it is sweetest.
I know,
Oh my
it's
gosh.
cute.
Oh, so cute.
It's sweet.
Anything else on this?
Chime in anyway.
Yes, please chime in. Please.
I this is just like, I actually haven't read this chapter yet. I only got through Aleph. But when you started talking about trust, I started kind of realizing the little things that I probably need to work on in my marriage. My husband has been talking to me about for the past 13 years. Like, just the little things, like, I think following through with what we say we're going to do. I tend to struggle with that. Like, especially if I feel like maybe what he wants me to do isn't as important as like what I have on my to-do list. And, yeah, that's just something that kind of came to mind, was I need to work on.
You know what builds trust,
Oh my
Katie?
gosh.
Katie, you know what builds trust is to go to him and be like, you know what? You've been trying to tell me this for 13 years, and the Holy One finally let me hear. I finally hear it. Could you forgive me for not hearing you? And I just want you to know I heard it now. Now, I don't know your husband. There may be a moment of him going, say that again. Can you I need to record. There may be that moment. It might be funny. I'm sure there'll be a moment, but sometimes that hinders and stops us. But what it will do is it'll build trust.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Thank you.
It really will build trust. I have to read this. This is at the end of this, and it was so good. It's on page 19, and it's in this last chapter before the pause and reflect questions. And I highlighted it. The scars of our lives have been written on our hearts so that each of our unique individual hearts is welded with his and is matched to his perfect plan. I thought that was so beautiful. Like all the scars, all the things we were talking about, that trust is that word for welding. It's a welding, impermeable, that doesn't, and he is the one who binds. He's the one who welds us. He's the one who welds that together. So all we have to say is, like you just did, Katie, like, okay, Father, where am I not bringing trust? And he's going to be like, oh, let me just show you a couple of places. But guess what? With me, we're going to do this because you're welded to me, because we're pulling this together and you're strong, and we're going to pull this together, and I'm going to show you how. Because you know what? It won't be how your husband thinks. You think, well, I'm going to do it the way he told me to. Doesn't mean be careful how I say this. Sometimes I have to pray for God, what's your way that you want me to do it? Instead of asking my husband, what's the way that would make this better for him? Sometimes I do the other, but the reason is because he's going to tell me the perfect plan, because his perfect will, and he's going to show me how to minister to my husband and how to walk this out better with him, so that I'm going to help be a healing instrument as not just a rod of correction. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Any comments from the Sabrina house over there before we move on? No? Shaking heads? No? Are you guys writing notes? Is this good? Good. Oh, Lori Dawn says she's totally bawling as I'm seeing all the ways I've proven how untrustworthy I am actually been. Huge conviction. Aw, bless her, Father. Thank you, Father, for this time. Thank you, Father, that you just surround us. I know we all prayed before we going in here, but let's get religious a minute. Father, thank you. Thank you that you are surrounding these women, surrounding their hearts so they're not feeling condemnation, but they're feeling like how empowered they are through you, that they can do all things through you because you give them strength. All right. Can we go to Gimel now? Is everyone ready? Can we?
Yes.
Gimel. Anyone have anything they have on Gimel they want to open up and talk?
It's the camel, like you said. I think they hold the water in their humps.
And then there's that. We talk about Sombra, the hay on the Isha. We bring in the fire and the water. I mean, there's so much cool stuff that we talk about ourselves that we get to bring in so many great things of revelation. Like, it's really good. Yeah. You have the Gimel. That's one of the mem is we see that in the word Gimel, the letter mem, which we'll get to later, but that is the word for water or the movement of revelation. Anyone else? I'll go through my stuff that I have here. Then it says, the Gimel holds the imagery of a camel, and it relates to the benefit of help a beast of burden provides. It also represents a bridge of assistance. The couple is married, a home is built, and she is a benefit to her family. So some discussion points on page 25. It talks about the Hebrew word tob. Does anyone have anything they want to say about that? The word tob. We see that he says it's TOWB. That's the second word as it's translated. Does one want to read 31:11 about that? That when he's saying
the tov, or you mean good?
We did good. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's translated. Okay. It's translated as good. We kind of read that earlier.
Which verse are you?
But the word is really beautiful. 31:11 is when the word tob is used, and it's word good. It's the second word. It's where it used good.
11 or 12.
It says she put 12, and I literally left without my back by pack, so I don't have I am Bible-less, and I can look it up on my phone.
She brings him good and not harm all the days of her life.
Perfect. So I want you to think of a camel. Can you see the camel now in the Gimel? She brings him good. Look at when you see a camel coming through the desert, it was loaded usually with good stuff, right? It was they was used to bring. That's what I saw. I saw this camel coming through the desert, and it's loaded not with water, with its own water, but it was also loaded down with usually like spices and loaded down with stuff so it could bring things. Sombra?
But Brenda also talked about how the Gimel, the camel, is a movement, because the camel lies down and you load it up with its pack stuff, and then it gets up and it moves. And so we have to see that as a movement thing. So Gamalatu, Tov, Velo Ra. Velo means and not, Ra means and not evil. So she carries with her good and not evil. And
that's good.
Being loaded down, you got to be careful what you're carrying, right? As women, we got to be careful that what we're carrying is good stuff. And what when we use that word loaded down, that weight that we carry, it can't crush us, because if it crushes us, if it crushes our family life, it's not good, because it will be bad, it will be evil, it will be raw. So we have to be careful about that.
Yes, I love that. That's so good. I'm going to read what she wrote in here. She says that the idea of being in tune or in harmony. Well, she says that that word tob has a lot of Jewish literature suggests it carries a musical connotation with being in tune or in harmony. Imagine the sweet melody of walking in harmony with Yeshua. The Holy Spirit is our Gimel and our bridge to God. He fine tunes our relationship. We get to do that. So what I want to say is, first of all, I struggled, you guys. I struggled all the time with, it's not fair. Why do I have to be the one that does all this? Why do I have to be the one that brings good? Where does it say what he gets to do? Where does it say? I mean, I struggled, guys. It was real. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I was just like, where's the verse, a virtuous husband? Like, why isn't there that chapter in the Bible? Like, isn't all this, like, why does it always have to be about us? But you know what changed? He showed me I'm the woman for the job. He gave that to us because there is a power, women, that we have. And this is not feminist. This isn't that we're better than, but he trusts that with us. Think about how the feminine wiles, they'll talk about how we can convince, them to do the things. He knows that we have this strength and this ability to carry things, the good things into our home, or the bad, like Sombra just said. We have this ability that we can coerce things. Girls, since you were 3 and you wanted your daddy to buy you something, or you wanted your mom or somebody to get you something, you knew how to get it. You knew how to wrap someone around your little finger, bat your eyes, and make it happen. We have this thing. And I remember saying all the time, and you guys, it's worth repeating, but I would say all the time, it's just not fair. It's always about me. Why do I have to be the one who changes? Why do I have to be the one who gets stronger? Why do I have to be more holy? Why do I have to pray more? What about him? It's not fair. And that one time Brenda just said, well, fair's not a fruit of the spirit.
Yeah.
That's all she had to say. It
yeah.
kicked my fanny, and that's all she had to say. It kicked my fanny. And when she said it, it literally switched things around for me. And I realized he trusts me so much. He's empowered me, just like with the Holy Spirit. He's empowered me to be in line with him, to be able to guide my family to good, healthy places, to bring good things and to bless my family. I mean, it was a heart change, because I literally, one of my mantras, if you were walking with me all day, it'd be like, change me, Father, change me, change me, change me. Because sometimes I get sick of me. I'm like, change me. Why are you a big complainer? Just change me, change me. And he does. He does.
Right. Yeah.
Can I just kind of turn that on its heel a little bit?
Yeah.
So, no, fair isn't a fruit of the spirit, and a lot is put on our shoulders, but we're still equally yoked. And I want to encourage wives and women to, whenever it is too much, to speak up to their husbands and trust them with your heart and trust them with that, and to ask them to help you to carry the load when you need that.
Oh my gosh, so good, Jordan. That's wisdom.
I've had to do that about 2 years ago, and he's still helping me carry. I just completely, I had reached my limit, and right now he goes to work and he makes dinner at night, and I mean, that's tough for me to say, but at the same time, I need it. And he's happily obliging that. It doesn't bother him, because he knows that he's helping to heal something within me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And one day I'm working on it. I'm slowly getting back to where I was and taking up my full reign or yoke as wife. But right now I need his help, and that's okay too. And I just don't want to constantly put all of that on our shoulders and think that we can never be helped in that, or that we can never expect them or ask them to help us with that it is both of our burdens.
I love that you just said that, because I think she said in here that someone's always going to be pulling the stronger, right? There's always a stronger partner. There's always a stronger person pulling the yoke. And sometimes I know I mean, look at my husband was doing the laundry. Now, if I told you how we got to that point, there was a permanent point when I'm like, I can't do all the things. Like, I can't do what I do and do all the things physically. Sometimes I might spend 3 days in bed physically. And so he'll have to jump in and do the things. He'll do grocery shopping because I hate it. And so he'll go do the grocery shopping, and he'll do the laundry. 2 things I hate. Sometimes dishes. It was hard for me at first, because it's like, you're not folding it right. That's not how you're supposed to bag things at the grocery store. I mean, seriously, this is me. You finally release it, because you can't, otherwise it was the zigzag of pulling the cart. And instead of letting it go, and the last thing that happened, a great example of this, was going to the Women of Valor conference. I may have shared this, I'm not sure. Is that I was like stressing, because I was looking at flights. The flights were too expensive. I was looking for all the ways to get there. And by the time I added it all up, I'm like, I can't put my family in debt to do this. This is just not God. So I was like, Father, I just give it up to you, whatever. And I got up and my husband, I was very grouchy, and it was because I was stressed out about how was I supposed to get to this conference. And I knew I really wanted to go. So I got up the next morning, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to share now. I need you to help me, and I felt like I was being weak. Like, I should be able to figure this out. This is my thing. But I didn't, Jordan. And I let it go. And I said, here's what's going on. And he had a fresh perspective. And he was like, why don't we just pack up and go? We're just going to leave early. Here's some other things. We'll just take the RV and we'll just all go. Like, why can't we do that? The campground is like way cheaper. Gas is less price. We have to go there anyway, so it's not extra on our budget. It doesn't put any stress on our family. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Load adjusted. It was a load adjustment, and he was the one who helped do that. So it was really good. Anyone else on the Gimel that they have something else that they want to share about the Gimel?
I'll share. This was really good, because I'm literally, I know Friday I talked about the father convicting me about my sister. And so I'm actually here at my sister's house right now. And I'm like washing the dishes. So when I was listening to the book while I was cleaning her kitchen. And so like listening to this chapter while I was doing that, it was just like, wow, like this is where I'm supposed to be. And sometimes it's like, where am I supposed to be? And, you know, where she asked, like, she's like, pause it and talk to the father and see what he says. And it was like, he was like, this is where you're supposed to be. And when you're done, you're going back home and that's where you need to be and stay there. So it was just like really good, and just being able to be here for her and not seeing it as like as a negative, but as a positive, like, hey, I get to come here. I get to serve my sister. I'm serving her. This is a mission from the father. Because I didn't even call my mom or anyone and tell them I was coming. She found out I was here. And she's like, she's like, oh, you didn't tell anybody. I'm like, I'm on a mission from God. I'm like, the father sent me here. And she was like, okay. And she literally backed off. And like, it was funny though, because like my mom, she prays and stuff like that. But it was just like, when I knew I could say that to her and she would understand. And in a way, I think it's going to be helpful for the family, because I was kind of like what you talked about. Like, I'm the one who's like, come on, you know better. Come on, let's get it together. The judgmental side of it, instead of having the compassion and saying, how can I help you, sister? I know you're struggling, you know, instead of, why are you struggling again? Didn't you get it the first time? You know, why are we going through this again? Like, that's where I'm usually at. But the father, he messed me up on Thursday night while I was in the mirror doing my hair. I was watching myself cry. I'm like, wow, this is an interesting look, like literally, y'all. And then I'm like, I really do miss my sister. Yeah, I was jacked up, y'all. So Friday, I was kind of like, I was in that stupor of, I just had a mountaintop experience with the father. Now I'm in the valley and I'm like, oh. And then I got up and I went and I drove up on Shabbat, and that was fine, because I'm like, Father, I'm doing your business. So, and I ended up having to take her to the hospital today. But I'm so glad I was here, because I was able to take care of my 2-year-old nephew who has autism, and my 18-year-old nephew, who's usually taking care of him because his mom is sick, got to go out with his cousins, spend the night out. He didn't have to worry about any of that. And he got to stay up late because he wanted to, not because he had to, with the baby. So like, just so many things that the father used me for. And I was just like, wow, like, this is good. And I'm so happy I did it. And I'm sad to leave, but I know that I'm going to have to leave tomorrow. But she knows I love her. She knows I care. And she, you know, I prayed over her, and it wasn't a big guilt trip fest for her. Like, because the father's like, and just be quiet. Just go love her, you know, because he knows me. So it was so humbling for me. And I'm just like, oh yeah.
This is a perfect example of this letter, right? You were the perfect example of this letter. I wrote notes to myself. It says, are you the first bridge or the experience for their encounter? You know, going back to that presence of that being like a bridge, or that, you know, if we're a bridge to their encounter, what does that look like? And sometimes, like I overshare, like my crazy, like I'm like, well, that wasn't a very good experience. How am I going to come back now and talk about Jesus, right? How am I going to do that after I just acted like a crazy person? You know, but how are we being that first bridge, that first experience for their encounter? And I think on 26, it says, I love too, it just says, we get to carry people until they can stand on their own.
Yeah.
Wasn't that beautiful? It was on page 26. We get to carry people. I think, did I highlight it? Yeah, it's at the very top. It says, like the camel, the Proverbs woman benefits others by using intentional acts of kindness to lift and carry them until they can stand on their own. You know what I liked about it? I liked about it because it was like, you don't have to do it all the time. And it's telling you, you until they can stand on their own, because it's not healthy for us to continue to carry. Now, some of you need to kick some people off your back. You've been carrying them too long. It's time for you to kick them off their back. He's going to right now tell you who they are. They're going to just pop in your head. You're going to be like, okay, this is dysfunctional. It's time for them to stand on their own. You can love them and give them you need to advocate for your boundaries, and you need to be an advocate for their truths, like things, love them in truth, right? And say, we love you, I love you, but here's what's, sister, you know.
Hey, Charlie.
Yes.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, of course.
So, you know, like, to just exactly what you were saying, sometimes we have to give permission to our family to move on too. because it's a generational thing that needs broken. And so sometimes we just have to give that permission and say, go, be happy.
Yeah, it's hard. And you need to know that the Holy One is walking you through that, like what to say, how to say it. This is probably one of those things that require fasting. Like you need to know it's not just your flesh being irritated. You're not hormonal. You're just done. He needs to be the one telling you. And when you do, he will he will prepare the moment. He will prepare it for you to say what you're going to say. I mean, Sarita, we've got to watch your journey with your stepson, how you walk through that. There's a time when it's like, okay, time to get off the camel. It's time.
And the healing that comes and the joy. I mean, beautiful.
Yeah. I hope you guys don't mind that because some of you don't have the book yet. So I'm just going to read this section. It's the Song of Strength. It's on 28. She says, perhaps lifting others is hard because of our own burdens. We have enough to carry. We can't take on more. Some of us feel we don't have much to offer, and some may struggle with perfectionism. Anybody raise a hand? How do you define perfect? Because there's a lot of you are frozen in perfectionism, and I know you. Do you think perfect equals flawless? One biblical definition of perfect is complete, entire, and full. That's what I love about the word shalom, is because when he says, I leave you perfect peace, it's not flawless, but the word meant complete, not fractured, right? Entire. It was full. This gives me a new perspective. I don't have to be flawless or perfect to be complete and useful to God. The banana, here we go, is the excellent example of this idea. A banana grows until it reaches a certain size, and even though it continues to ripen, its growth is complete. It's usable through all ripening stages. As a young green banana, it can be cooked in recipes. It is tastiest as a yellow middle-aged banana. Woo. And then it turns brown. It's preferred for baking. In all stages, it is a banana, perfect for its different usage. Women are like bananas. We have many benefits to offer in all stages of our life, but we may tend to seek flawless perfection at the expense of complete usefulness. I loved that. Are you feeling useful where you're at right now? Like, I want to hear. Tell me where you're at. You're a banana. Caitlin, where are you at in your banana stage?
I didn't get the book yet, but I guess like describing me as a banana probably would be somewhat accurate, because like I can serve a lot of benefit to my children when they need me, as far as like, feeding my daughter and like just meeting their daily needs, like, and being there for them. But as far as it goes, sometimes with my husband is like, I can just be kind of tough. I can be tough. Like I'm like that unripe banana that's not super sweet all the time. And I can be kind of just, I am what I am. And I think God's got to like ripen my heart a little bit and just like soften me a little bit, because a ripened banana is very sweet. Yeah. Are they very sweet? They're very yummy and sweet. And then, ripened bananas have had time to give growth and increase. And I think that's what I need. But I could probably like understand more when I start reading the book, right? But that's kind of
that's
where
perfect.
I see myself now.
That was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. I mean, and I love it. It can be used at all times. How many of you guys take bananas there's times, and I think maybe I can be at different seasons. I like how you said that. I don't have to be I can be at different stages and go back and forth, because sometimes I'm the rotten banana that needs to go in the freezer and be used for a shake, So Janie, did you have anything on that? Where are you at in your banana?
I was giggling because I'm starting the middle ages of life, and that's what was humorous to me when you were saying that. Yeah, we can still be used in the middle age of life.
Yes, that's when we're the sweetest. That's it. And then when you joke when you're with your grandbabies because you're so sweet and loving to them, and you weren't like, my daughter's like, how is she allowed to do this with you? But with me, I got the look and I was scared to death. And I'm like, because I've grown, because I know now how not effective that was. And yeah, I got sweeter. Tastes better.
Mm.
Anyone, anything else on this? I'm going to go through some of these questions and let you guys hop in then. I'll start backwards with Gimel. What do you feel are some of the benefits that you offer your family? If you want to type them in, if you don't feel comfortable unmuting, or unmute and just tell me, just blast out.
Say that again. What was the question?
What benefit do you offer your family?
Good food.
We heard Caitlin. She said feeding them. Lori Dawn, what benefit do you give?
Good food.
Good food. I love that. And I bet you give good hugs. Katie, what do you offer your family?
Right now, I'm the sun and the moon with this baby.
Nice. Nice. Embrace it. I love
Probably
that.
could be a little more humble than that, but yeah, I was just trying to think. Like, I think, probably, maybe this is cliche, but I think I probably offer more nurturing and just like loving goodness. I don't know.
That's
Just
good.
snuggles and sweet stuff. That's what I offer.
I love that. That's good. That's good.
Along with all the other things, you know.
It's good. I love Cindy is saying over here she's overripe. You're hysterical. Overripe. Oh, that's fun. Janie says keep them supplied. Sabrina says everything. Janie also says she organizes them. Crystal says optimistic. I'm able to find the good in things and share how God has made each moment to learn from. That's a good one. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Sabrina said, let me see, I'm reading some of Sabrina's. Every time I think of the Gimel, I think of Luke 6:38, packed in, shaken together, and overflowing. Oh, that's really good. That's a good perspective. She says everything. I'm sure. Are you guys saying everything over at Sabrina's house? Or are you saying you guys give all the things? You do everything. Y'all do it all. Yeah. All the things. Okay. How about this question? Do you have perceived imperfections in your life that you feel keep you from serving others? Do you have some imperfections in your life that you feel like keep you from serving others? Let's be honest. It's all, I mean, look at Jordan showed her soft underbelly. So now it's your turn. Anybody else? What are your perceived imperfections that keep you from serving? I'll give you mine. I would think I don't know enough. Like I can't serve because the people I'm around, I feel like what am I going to give them? They have everything. They know everything. What can I do? Anyone else? Debbie, what are your perceived imperfections?
I was just typing. You know, I was raised in the generation be quiet, children to be seen and not heard. So I was always told you say things wrong. So I never felt that I was really a good communicator. Not smart enough, not funny enough. Everybody else is so funny. And, you know, all the stuff. But I am realizing, you know, one of the chapters she was talking about trusting others, you know, trusting God. Like I trust Father. Like that's no problem for me. For me, it's trusting others because of the hurts that I've been through. And so I'm beginning to trust others, and I'm seeing that in that trusting others, I'm coming out of my shell, so to speak.
That's good.
I'm not worried about, am I smart enough? Do I communicate exactly how everybody wants me to communicate? Because I mean, you're in a room full of people, somebody's not going to get everything you say. That's just the way it is. So, yeah.
That's really good. Thank you for sharing that. We've had some good ones. A lot of not smart enough. How many people raise your hand? Like you can raise it or put the little emoji up and raise it saying, yeah, I feel like I'm not smart enough. I struggle with that too. Like I'm just not smart enough. Yeah, I feel like a lot of us feel that way. It's not smart enough. Chris Berry, do you have anything you want to add to this? Is there anything that you feel like that's your perceived imperfections that keep you from serving?
nothing's coming to mind right now. I've just been kind of listening to everybody, and have been kind of in and out. So I'm sorry. I had
Oh, no,
not been able
you're
to follow
fine. I
everything.
I just didn't know. I just fine. I didn't want you to think I was leaving you out. So you're
Oh, well, I
perfectly fine.
appreciate that. I
Yeah,
appreciate
and
that.
it's a safe place to go. Nope, don't have anything to say. Goodbye. There's enough women here. Trust me, we cannot shut them up. So you're
Yes.
good.
Well, believe me, when I
I'm
have
one of
something
them.
to say, I will.
I'm one of them. And I
Yes,
mean, me as
indeed.
the ringleader. So yeah. Sombra, Carol, go ahead and ask. I'm going to ask you to unmute first and then Sombra. If I unmuted you, it was only because someone was loud in the back. I just went through unmuting. I don't know who it was.
Am I unmuted?
You are unmuted, sister.
Okay. I feel like I'm not smart enough, like I'm not a good communicator. Misunderstood. And I realize a lot of that is because of the damage that I've experienced over my life. Being told that I was stupid, that I was an idiot. So those are things that I struggle with, that I'm working on. So I feel like this book is going to bring revelation and prayerfully some healing.
Oh, we're believing it for you. Father, we just ask you to surround Carol. We thank you, Father, that you're renewing our mind. We thank you that she's, you're going to show her new ways to yoke herself with you so that she, this load doesn't seem crazy anymore, and that she gets a whole new revelation of who she is in you. I know that's your will. It's in your word. I know it's Ephesians. It's in your word. I know that that's your plan for her life right now, Father. So I thank you for that. I thank you as you're bringing revelation and healing. No longer is that going to be her story. You know, I'm hearing right now from the Holy One is that it's no different than he was walking in the garden and they were hiding from shame and guilt, and they were trying to cover themselves up with their own thing, their own camouflage, their own things, no different than we do. We hide because of our perceived imperfections. Theirs weren't perceived, and some of them aren't perceived. Some things you're like, if people really, I went to this thing, if people really knew who I was, if they knew some of the things that maybe I've gone through, some choices I've made, they would never listen to me. How could I ever be used by you, God? If people knew, right? That's a thing we go through. And he wants me to you reminded me just now of that. And Carol, I want to share that with you because he's saying it's no different than he was walking in the garden. He said, who told you were naked?
Yes.
It's the same thing he's saying. Who told you you weren't smart enough? Who told you you were stupid and ugly? Who told you to be quiet? Because I never said that. That wasn't me. So stop comparing me to your earthly father. Stop comparing me to the other people's. He's saying that I never told you that. So there's not an easy button, you guys, and I hope you feel that heart of that here always. No one's expecting, like we're talking to Jordan, to be like, oh, just give it to Jesus, it'll be all fine. And no one's telling you, like, there's a process. Sometimes there's discipline. Sometimes it's hard. There's healing that has to happen. But I love that your heart, Carol, is that you want to be better next year. You want to be better tomorrow. You want to be, even if it's a half of an inch, you're going to move forward. You're moving forward. And he sees you. He sees you. And he wants to remind you that he's not the one who said those things to you. So, Sombra, you were next. You had your hand up before, and I undid you.
Somebody said that they are the person who supplies for their family. I call myself the procurement officer. And that is one place where I'm easily offended if ever anybody even remotely implies that I have failed to procure what the family needs. I am so quick to flat. What do you mean I didn't bring blah, 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 blah? So my husband yesterday, we went to service yesterday in congregation in person. And my husband turns to one of our kids and says, can you go put on some nicer clothes, please? And I'm like, nicer than what? What are you talking about? Why would you say that? I don't know what you think that I should have bought them and had them. Procurement officer. When I fail at procurement officer, oh, it's a big deal. And that's one place I got jealous once. Stuart has a colleague, and the colleague was going to Costco, and she offered to pick up some cheese for him. He brought home cheese that she bought.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Oh, yes, he did. And so the next time she offered to do the same
a snap.
And so the next time she offered to do the same thing, he said, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And she immediately understood.
I love you so much right now. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the same. I got you. I got you. Someone offered to saw my husband doing laundry and offered to do it for him. About blew it. Blew it. And how pitiful he was because he was having to do laundry. Oh, I was a mess. It was a friend. Gracie, come stay over here. Sarita, yes, ma'am.
Man, this is like blowing my mind right now because, okay, so from the portion on Friday, the Father spoke something to me and I thought I was supposed to share it in my group, but I'm like, no, it's for right now. And it was about how, Moses is giving like everybody, we just started Deuteronomy and Moses is giving the Israelites like the rundown again. And it just reminded me of like, the Father saw him at the burning bush. Moses saw the burning bush and he was like, I can't do this. I don't speak well. And then the Father was like, fine, I'll bring your brother. And it was like, how many times do I complain to the Father that whatever he's calling me to, I can't do it because I'm not trusting that he's going to do it in me and through me. But then as he's given this like rundown, like I'm not sure if when he's given the rundown, if it's still Aaron talking or if it's actually Moses. But for me, because I've done that before, sometimes it's like the Father's like, okay, go back over there, like where I'm at right now, go back over there and love and serve. And it's like, but I've messed up so many times with that. I've judged, I've said mean stuff, but you want me to go back over there. So then it's like, but here I go again. But he's given me another chance. And it's like, wait, no, I can do this because of the power of his Holy Spirit in me. That's what he's called me to. And I can do it. And I'm going to obey this time without complaining because I know that he's given me another chance. And it's like so scary because it's like, but I've already messed up. They already know all the bad stuff that I did. And they already know my past. And he's like, yeah, and go get it. Go do it. So
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm blowing over here right now. I'm like, yeah, this was for today, not for yesterday. So I'm so glad because the Father kept telling me, you need to be quiet. You need to be quiet in certain situations. But here, he hasn't given me that. Why? Because it's all women. I'm learning to share with women because that's what I feel he's called me to, is to love on women who are already in the faith and help them to grow as I'm growing. And so, yeah, I'm just like, oh, yay. I actually voice recorded it because I didn't want to forget it. And then I listened to it on the way up. And then I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to share this here. But then today, hallelujah, I'm like, okay, this is the spot. So just learning to learn his prompts and understand. Just because he gives you a word doesn't mean you're supposed to speak it right away. Sometimes it's a word for a future moment. So
absolutely. Well, we did good, you guys. Just we'll be doing it. It's not 9 weeks. We'll get this done in 8 weeks because we did because I combined the intro with the first 3 books. Because I just don't want you guys going on and on and on. And we'll just pick another book, right? We'll just and whoever wants to hop in on that one. So wrapping it up, I just wrote on here that so those people who are listening to this later, I wrote in the chat that what hit me was, unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain. And I was thinking, Father, this is perfect. That summarizes today. We see the bait, right? If he doesn't build this, if we're not if we're not pulling the load with him, if he isn't our source of our strength, because you know what, we're our arms. I pray, Father, that my arms would be strong for the task. Hold my arms up, Father. When I'm weak, you're strong, Father, and your joy is my strength. Show me how to find joy. So yoke yourself with his strength. First of all, yoke with the strength. He's the giver of your strength. He's the lifter of your head. He's the one, so that you can then yoke in Be yoked. Don't try to pull. Don't try to control. I love Jordan. Thank you for being so open and saying, yes, you need to go to your, if you're married, or if you're pulling a load with another person, if you're not married, but you're pulling loads with friends, maybe you're in a ministry with them, that you go to them and say, here's why. It builds trust when you say, I'm struggling in this area. Can I get your perspective? Because otherwise pride's going to run you into the ditch. It's going to run the whole cart in the ditch. Because I'll tell you from experience, now you got to pick up the mess. You got to clean up all the stuff. You might have to rebuy some stuff, even if you don't have a Costco card, Sabra, and you're mad about the Costco. That if you guys can't read the chat, some of you, her friend called her out and said that's funny because she doesn't even have a Costco card. So, there's so much to clean. You guys know, right? The cleanup is real. So if we can just get this and we're just aligning with that, and then what we get to do is we get to being then our carts or our Gimel or as a camel, we're bringing the good things. We're not bringing the bad things. We're not bringing all the broken stuff. We've cleaned it up. We've yoked with the right thing. We've yoked with the Holy One. We're bringing the good things into our home, and we're bringing trust, we're bringing life, we're bringing the fruits of the Spirit in, and we get to feed our families those things. Why? Because he trusts us. He trusts us to be that's our strength. We're the women for this job, right? Anyone have any final things, and we're going to close? I promise not to keep you late. Anything
Charlie,
else?
I just
Yes.
wanted to say one thing because there was some people that were saying things that we were all identifying with not feeling that we know enough or bad reports that have been thrown on us. On page 29, this just kept coming out at me when everyone was talking. It says, if we desire to be an example of Gimel, we need to put aside the burdens of the world and our ideas of flawless perfection. Instead, store up refreshment and encouragement through God's word and encountering his great love for us. Isn't that good? Beautiful. And his strength will help us endure the dry spells. And I think that's because the word that you said, like the Lord said that to me a couple of years ago, the exact same thing. Who told you you were naked? I mean, those are not the words of the Father.
He never ever says stuff like that to us. He never no with us. He never ever puts us down. Because why? Because he created us, and it's easy. We're like, oh yeah, it's easy to say, but no, really.
Mm-hmm. In his presence, we're naked and unashamed.
Yeah. So who's saying that to us? Who is saying that to us? And so we get to take those thoughts captive. We get to work. You need help with that? Please reach out to me. That's my jam. I love working through some mindset stuff. So, and we have Simi in Simonette. Awesome with that as well. Really great with helping you work through some mindset issues. That's her jam. Let us help you. That's what we're here for, to help disciple you through that program, because you shouldn't be holding on to that. I know, Carol, you've reached out to some people here in the group, specifically that are helping you with some things. Reach out for help. That's the thing that builds trust in your family, because you're saying, my husband even said, I really am appreciating, I'm noticing that you're walking. I'm noticing the extra fluid you're drinking. I'm noticing your choices and the things that you're eating. I really love to watch that you're taking care of yourself. He gets very angry at me if I make bad comments about myself, about, oh, you're just fat. Oh, you're just bleh. But what he is seeing is when he said that to me, I was like, you know what? That's like with everything. We were just talking about this, about walking your faith out. When people see you consistently doing stuff, they notice. So when you're building trust, you can restore trust. We saw the example of the woman who did the affair, but if you've broken trust in your home, you can build the bait back in your home. You can build that back in your home. Hope you're excited. You learned 3 new letters. Look at you guys now. You're going to see, I want you to look at those letters, even practice drawing them so that you know them. Make yourself a little flashcard and write, maybe make yourself get like the 3x5 cards like we did back in the day. I know if you're young, you may not know these, but they'd sell them still. 3x5 cards. They're 3x5. And maybe write the letter and write the thing. And then on the back, write the revelations that you're having as Proverbs 31. Like, what did that mean to you, so that you can kind of just look at it and use it as a tool. Amen.
Amen.
Can't wait to see you guys next week. Was this good? Was it good?
Thank you. Yes, it was great.
Hey, all the girls in Sabrina's house. We love you. Feel free to share. It's not too hard to catch up. Y'all know they're quick chapters. You can go back. I know. Love you. Love you. Love you.
Thank you, guys.
Love you. Love you. Love you. Be blessed. I'll stop recording. Bye, guys on Facebook. Bye, everybody who's watching, who's listening to the recording. We love you. Answer questions. Do comments so we know you're there. See you later. I'm stopping that. Stop recording.